Dinaja Abarera Legos Ram Ori Banish C10 Demonio 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 Dinaja Abarera Legos Ram Abarera Legos Ram Ori Banish C10 Demonio Dinaja 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 Abarera Legos Ram Ori Banish C10 Demonio
Hello, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to Satan and Coffee, Sunday Black Mass. It's good to see everybody. Essa, Ave. Good. I know it's been a little while since assistant here. And I do apologize for that. Hopefully we'll be getting back into a regular swing of things here, starting with this week. So let us begin as we always begin. Hail Satan, hail Lilith, hail Lucifer, hail Paimon, hail Baphomet, hail thyself. We reject the Trinity, we reject the baptism of John, and we reject the baptism of the Spirit. Again, it is good to see everyone. Glad you're here. So what we're going to be talking about today, what I kind of wanted to talk about, wanted to bring into the fold, so to speak, is a simple concept. Hail thyself. Now, we talk about hail thyself a lot. Talk about self-deification, self-empowerment, being and feeling powerful. But I don't think we really kind of talk about or break down what that means, right? We don't come into it with a full understanding of kind of what hail thyself truly means. And so that's kind of like what I wanted to talk about today. Now, we do work with and dedicate ourselves and our path to others, such as Baphomet, Lilith, Satan, Lucifer, Samael. We do dedicate much of ourselves to these beings, to these intelligences. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with dedicating time and energy to those things that give us strength. But it is the strength that is inside of us that is the most important. It is when things become difficult. It's easy to say, "Hail thyself." It's easy to say, "Hail Satan." It's easy to say, "Hail Lucifer, hail Lilith, hail Payman, hail Baphomet." It's easy to say these things when things are good, when things are easy, when we're not suffering. And it is through suffering, when we are in the thick of it, that we don't necessarily understand why we are. And when we suffer, the left-hand path teaches us, and our gods teach us, that we are responsible for our own suffering. We may not be responsible for the initial break, the initial snap into suffering that might have been brought upon us, but the feeling or the remaining of suffering, to stay in suffering, is our decision, it's our choice. Everything is a choice. Everything in life is a choice. Life is nothing more than a series of decisions with consequences. That is all life is. You make a choice, you make a decision, you suffer the consequence, or you revel in the consequence. Consequence, again, is a term that is regularly used to talk about negativity. To say that one is suffering consequences is generally looked at as negativity, is that a consequence is a bad thing. Consequence isn't inherently a negative or bad thing. We've spoken about this at length, but it's something I think that needs to be kind of drilled in. Consequence is just something that happens in response to something else. That's it. That's all it is. The consequences of your life are nothing more than a response to the actions that you've taken, or the actions that you haven't taken. That is all consequence is. That is the accumulation of life. Now, for some, this might be an oversimplification. Perhaps it is. It might be something that's difficult to deal with. It might be something difficult to face, to understand or sit there and think and believe that the things that we are suffering, the things that we are going through, are in direct result to our own actions or lack thereof action. It is to say that when you are in a position where suffering is being imposed upon you, whatever form that suffering is taking, it is your choice to stay in and allow that suffering to continue. This is where hail thyself comes in. This is where the understanding that you are the most powerful being that you're ever going to come in contact with in your own life, in your own existence. You are the most powerful being that you will ever touch base with. Doesn't matter who you're dedicated to. It doesn't matter who you revere and who you leave offerings to and who you call upon in ritual to help you or empower you or to push you forward. At the end of the day, you are the most powerful aspect of your own existence. Nothing in your existence is more powerful than you. This is the full spectrum of understanding of hail thyself. Is to know and to understand that you are the most powerful being in your own existence. You are. No one and nothing else. And understanding that and knowing that puts us into a position, a precarious one. And that precarious position that we find ourselves in is that when an action has a consequence, whether that be an action of someone else or an action of yourself, and that consequence affects you and affects you in a way that you are not pleased with, action requires more action. It is that simple. When you are... You still live? Are we still live, everyone? Because it's kind of saying Let's see here. The audio, what? Is the audio okay? Sorry guys, I'm being told that there's something wrong with the stream. Okay, stream status says excellent. We recommend an audio stream bitrate of 128 kilobits. Well, I mean, that's generally where we're sitting at, right? Sorry, guys. It's just I got a notification saying that there's something wrong with the stream, so I don't know. Stream output. First and foremost, I don't like that. Let's kick that up to 6,000. And then the audio bitrate is pretty low. It's 192. I would go 320 with that. Apply. Okay, so hopefully what I just did will do good for the stream. Can you guys still can you guys let me know if we're still up? Are we doing good here? Chat, you still with me? Chat. Hopefully we're okay. I hate interruptions like that, but I just had to mess around with the audio bitrate. Hopefully it sounds a little bit better. Hopefully the stream itself is stable. I do hope so. Anyway, so when we talk about Hail Thyself, that's what we're talking about. And so there are certain things that are going to happen in your life. There are certain things that are going to happen in everyone's life. There are decisions or lack of decisions that you're going to make that you're going to have to make more decisions on top of that. And the incapability of making decisions when something happens is stationary, is to be stationary. There's only one time in a human's life where a human should be stationary. A human should do nothing. And that is in death. The only time that a human being should say, that's it, I'm done, is when you're dead, is when you die. Life requires consistent decision making. It will always require consistent decision making. That is something that just will never change. And so this comes from a place where I currently am, where I'm currently sitting and standing in my life, where I'm suffering the consequences of decisions and choices that I've made. And it's not necessarily to say that the decisions or choices that I've made are bad. There's a bit of a duality or a lot of gray area with certain choices that we make. There are aspects of choices that we make that we can enjoy, and there's aspects of that same choice that we cannot, we don't enjoy, that we don't like, that we don't feel safe with. And it is our responsibility to act accordingly. When someone threatens your peace, when someone threatens your well-being, when someone threatens your happiness, it is our responsibility as individuals, as those of the left-hand path, It is our responsibility to correct our course. It is our responsibility to examine the situation, to examine the circumstances, reevaluate the decisions that we've made, and understand how we need to pivot. Again, understanding Hail Thyself is to understand and is to know that you are the most powerful being in your life. You are the only one that has the control to change things in your life, for better or for worse. And sometimes we make choices that in the moment seem like the correct thing to do. They seem like the right thing to do. And then something unforeseen happens from those choices, from those decisions. Sometimes this happens because of lack of information. And how can we apply that to ourselves? Well, we can sit there and say, well, maybe we didn't look at the entire the entire panorama of possibility. We didn't calculate the entire situation correctly in the moment. And all of these things are okay. There's nothing wrong with not being able to, or not having fully calculated the potentiality of a situation and its outcomes. We're human beings. We're not computers. We're not going to be able to process or go through every single minute detail of a situation and be able to figure out what's going to happen because of a decision that we're going to make. At the end of the day, I repeat, you are only responsible for yourself because you are only able to control yourself. You're the only one that you can control. You can't control anyone else. You can't control how someone's going to react to what you do or what you don't do. You can have an idea of what they're going to be doing or how they're going to feel about a certain thing, but you can't overall control that. You can't control someone else's reactions. The only thing that you truly have control over in your life is you. That's it. Nothing else. Nothing more. Nothing less. You and what you do and your reactions to things is the only thing that you absolutely, truly, unequivocally have control over. You can control nothing else. Any other semblance of control that we have in our lives is an illusion. Hail Thyself is what teaches us to understand that. There's a prayer that's actually pretty interesting in Christianity when we talk about AA and NA. It's called the Serenity Prayer. And in the Serenity Prayer, though I don't remember verbatim how it goes, there is the line of strength to control, to change the things that I can, and the patience to deal with the things I can't, and like the wisdom to know the difference. Some spooky language type shit like that. The reality of the situation is understanding the difference of what you can and can't control is simply be put, is knowing that you can only control yourself. There is nothing else that you can control. You can influence. That's something you can definitely do. You can definitely influence people and places and things. You can hint at, you can even manipulate, which is probably I would say the lowest form of magic out there is manipulation. Something that we regularly partake in even if we don't admit it. We manipulate people and situations every single day to benefit ourselves. We play with words and phrases and situations, and we twist them and turn them and turn them into something that we can use. It's the lowest form of magic, is manipulation. Some of us do it blatantly and disgustingly. Some of us do it smaller amounts. But we all do it. Understanding the disintegration of human nature inside of ourselves. Exactly. It is impossible to foresee every single outcome. And yes, everything we do does create a ripple effect. And I think what one thing that's kind of like one thing that like we don't realize, we don't understand about that ripple effect is it's not like throwing a stone into a pond and then watching the ripples and the stone sink to the bottom. It's not like that. It's more like skipping a stone across the pond, right? Like it's that's what life is like. We're the skipping stone. Right? That is what we are. We are the skipping stone in the pond. Eventually we're going to sink into a fucking oblivion. That's an inevitability. But we're skipping across the pond. That's life. And every single jump and every single movement that we make creates a ripple effect. And before the one ripple's finished, we're creating another ripple effect. And it compounds. And this is where the necessity and the understanding of hail thyself comes in. Self-deification is not becoming an actual living God. Paranormal Witch, I'm well. Thank you very much for asking. It's not becoming an actual living God. It's understanding that you have complete control over the direction that your life goes. You don't like your job, you change it. You don't like your relationship, you change it. You don't like the fucking clothes that you're wearing, you change them. You don't like the music you're listening to, you change it. You get tired of eating a particular food, you change it. And everything we do affects other people. Everything everyone else does affects us. Sometimes we give a shit how we affect people. Sometimes we don't give a shit how we affect people. Sometimes people care about how they affect us. Most of the time they don't. And how people affect us and how other people's ripple effect moves us we determine whether or not we change, and when we change direction, we stay in that direction. Something can happen in life that moves you and makes you say, well, I need to pivot. I need to change direction. I need to go left instead of right. And so you go left, and then you go left a little while, and you're like, okay, well, maybe this wasn't such a good idea. Let me turn around. But then people sit there and think, well, maybe I shouldn't turn around because I've been going left for a while now, and I turn around to be almost like starting over again, but I'd have to make up the space and time that I've missed by going left. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Don't overthink it. But the direction that you're going, if you're going left, if you're going right, if you're going straight, if you're going up, if you're going down, whatever direction it is that you're fucking going, and if you don't like that direction, you don't feel comfortable in that direction, something's wrong about that direction, then change direction. I think the biggest problem is, especially in the occult, or as a cultist rather, we fall into this bullshit that most other faiths fall into, is that, well, I've been doing this for a while, so I might as well just keep doing it. If it doesn't work, if it doesn't feel right, why are you going to keep doing it? Why are you going to keep subjugating yourself to something that doesn't complete you, that doesn't fulfill you, that doesn't make you feel the way you want to feel? Why would you continue to subjugate yourself to that? To relegate your existence to something that's mediocre? That's not hailing yourself. That's not self-deification. That's not believing in your own power. That's subliminally telling yourself that you have no power. Because, well, I might as well stay on this path. It's half-assed. It kind of sucks, and I really don't like it. But, you know, I'm going to stay on this path because I've been on this path for a while, and I don't know anything else. And I'm too afraid of change. Well, there you go. That's the problem. You're too afraid of change. It's not that you need somebody to come down and pick you up and move you around and give you a helping hand. No, you don't. Just make the change. Just fucking do it. if you're the one making the choice to stay on the path that you're on, stop complaining about it because you're making the choice to stay there. Do sigils tattooed on the body last forever? Well, I mean, unless you get laser surgery and have it removed. I mean, unless you're talking about, like, the empowerment of the sigil. That depends on you. For as long as you look at that sigil and you feel that empowerment from that sigil, then yeah, it'll last forever. If you look at it one day and you're like, doesn't really matter anymore, then it's probably you just gave up on its power. But that's something you did. It's not the sigil itself. The sigil is just a design. Right? I mean, at the end of the day, that's what everything is, right? A logo is just a sigil. Think about, like, the Apple logo. That's a sigil. Essentially, like, if you think about it, if you put sigils into kind of like a modern day kind of perspective and you sit there and you kind of look at it, a sigil is nothing more than a logo for the demon. That's it. It's like putting a band logo on your arm. I've got Slipknot's logo on my calf. I love looking at it. Every time I see it, like, ooh, that's a good tattoo. I love that look. That tribal S. Looks so badass. Fucking love it. Got that maybe like 12, 15 years ago. The sigil itself doesn't have any power. It's the power you give to it. It's the connection that you bring to it. It's the work that you put in to connect to the entity that is connected to that sigil. At the end of the day, the sigil is just a design. It's just lines on a piece of paper or piece of wood, right? This is why the left-hand path is so important inside of the occult. This is why Hail Thyself is so important inside the left-hand path. Because the power comes from you. People fear the sigil of Baphomet or an inverted pentagram because they don't understand what it means, but that fear gives it power. It gives it power. Think about how different everyone's experiences are when it comes to the paranormal. People that are afraid of the paranormal, people are afraid of ghosts and demons and goblins and spooky creatures that lurk in the dark and hide underneath the bed and stairs and try to grab your feet and pull you into a dimension that you never thought existed before. They're afraid of it. They fear it. It scares them. It freaks them out. But then there's some of us that are like, ooh, let's have a conversation, sit down and have some tea. It's your own perspective. It's your own power that you're imbuing into it. You take the power that exists inside of you and you use it as a mirror and you reflect it and you shine it into the sky, and sometimes you get an answer back. Sigil is just a phone number, much like the name. It is connected as long as you're connected. So does it last forever? Does the power of it last forever? Maybe, maybe not, but that depends on you. I'll be adding sigils to my tattoos. Nice. Rock on, man. Rock on. And don't misunderstand me. I'm not downplaying the power of sigils. I mean, sigils, they do allow you to connect to the whatever entity is that you're trying to connect to, or they facilitate the connection, rather. But the sigil in and of itself has no power. If you draw a sigil on a piece of paper with no intent, it's just a sigil on a piece of paper. It's just lines on paper. There's no intent behind it, and it doesn't mean anything. If you give that piece of paper with sigils on it to somebody that doesn't know what it is, and they look at it and they say, oh, that's a cool design, or oh, that looks really dumb, it holds no power for those people. Because they're not connected to it. They don't care left, right, up, or down. It doesn't matter to them. So, that's kind of how I would look at it. I hope that kind of answers your question. But that is what we're talking about today. We're talking about the power of self. And the hardest part about power of self is to tap into your power when you feel your weakest, when you feel destroyed, when you feel broken, when you feel lost, when you feel subjugated, when you feel thrown to the side, when you feel hated, when you feel hate, when the only thing that you want to do is destroy the world and watch it burn. It's the most important moment to understand not to do it. That is the point. To control yourself. To control your emotions. Control the reactions that you have to your emotions. The most important part of the left-hand path and self-deification and the idea and concept behind Hail Thyself is you need to handle yourself and work with yourself as delicately as you would walking through an active, live minefield. And we're not talking about being triggered or being upset. But it's to say that it's in those moments that you feel those waves of negativity over you, whatever negative emotion that it is you're feeling. Fear, anger, doesn't matter. Lost, depressed, doesn't matter. It's in those moments that self-control is the most important part of being on the left-hand path. It's the most important aspect of being a left-hand path occultist. It's the most important lesson to learn in the path of self-deification. To control yourself. To control your wrath. To control your power. To control how deeply you fall down the rabbit hole. Because when you're falling down the rabbit hole, it feels like you don't have any control about how far you fall. Fact of the matter is, you do. The moment you realize you're falling is the moment that you have control. Or that you can take control. You might not be able to notice that you're falling immediately when you start to fall, but once you realize that you're falling, once you realize that something is happening, something is changing, something is moving, then that is when you have the ability to take control over what's happening, over yourself, inside the situation, because you're aware of it happening. Self-awareness, responsibility, accountability, no excuses. Hard lesson to learn. It's the not very romantic side of the left-hand path and Hail Thyself. It's to realize when you're fucking up or when you fucked up and take accountability and responsibility for the fuck up that you made. Regardless of whether or not you agree or disagree with the outcome. You realize you made a mistake, you need to admit that you made a mistake. You need to admit that you fucked up. Own that shit. And then as you own it, grow from it. Learn from it. Become more, become better. Right? So, Satan, Lucifer, want you to know your own power, not for you to believe in their power. The reason why Lucifer is a light bearer, the morning star, the guiding light, it's not designed, he's not designed to control you or push you in a particular direction, but rather to kind of shine his light on the path and show you this is what you want. This is where you need to go. This is what you need to do. And make no mistake about it, when it comes to the occult, when it comes to the left-hand path, especially, your ritual and your spell is just the precursor to everything that needs to happen after. All the work that needs to go into after. The ritual and the spell isn't the end-all, say-all, be-all of a situation. If you do a ritual, do a spell, and then you do nothing to forward its movement, well, then you're not going to go anywhere now, are you? Lesson for today, my beautiful demons, get off your ass. Start moving. Do something. Make something. Create something. Whatever it is that you're capable of doing inside of your own restrictions, the things that you, whether you have physical ailments or what have you, things that limit you in your ability, do something. Do anything. Doesn't matter. Just do something. Earn your power. Own your power. Be one with your power. With that being said, everyone, I think that is going to cover today's episode of Satan and Coffee, Sunday Black Mass. And as we began, so we end. Hail Satan, hail Lilith, hail Lucifer, hail Payman, hail Baphomet. But as always, and most importantly, hail thy fucking self. See you all in the next one. It's the fuck out. Bye.